Good evening, Mike. I like to give an intro, and welcome to the final session of the Young Kings and Queens Bridges Financial Literacy Series. My name is Joe from Old National Bank, joined tonight by
Mike DeMarler for Comerica Bank.
Hey, Rashawn.
as usual. Hi, Rashawn.
Yo.
I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Tonight's topics, there are 5 of them, revolve around debt management. Okay, and so we've got 5 individual loans, 5 individual modules to go over, titled, What is a Loan? Consumer Credit Counseling, What is Bankruptcy? Managing Debt, and Defaulting on a Loan. Mike, the board is yours. What topic would you like to discuss first?
Let's take the top one and start on what is a loan.
What is a loan for 100? All right. We've learned that we can't play videos, right? Unless you figured that out.
That is correct.
Okay.
Nope.
All right. Well, why don't you take it away? I'll drive this section. Maybe you want to talk this section?
All right. I can do that. So what is a loan? Of course, we know a loan is money you borrow to pay for something that you need right now. What else would you know about loans? So let's think about this. We were talking a little bit earlier about a loan for a car, right? You get a car loan. It helps you get from point A to B to get to a job that helps you pay for that car loan. Also, you can think about educational loan, pays for your education, to help you have a career that'll allow you to earn more money further on later in life. And as you know, the more education you have, the higher earnings will be majority of the time. Education does not guarantee that you'll make more money, but the numbers show that education helps you earn more money. So let's go to the next slide there, please.
Okay.
All right, so in this activity, we're going to talk about loans, responsibilities, and or of sharing of debt and the consequences of failing to pay loans on time. And hopefully when we get done, you will not do those processes. So what is a loan? Which of the following statements is true of a loan? Select all that apply. Rashawn, we're going to let you pick out of the 5. It is money you borrow to pay for something. Yes or no?
Yeah.
It must usually be paid back with interest. Yes or no?
Yeah.
It must be paid back often in monthly payments called installments. Yes
Yeah.
or no? It must come from a bank.
No.
It
Can't
can be
you
used
loan
for
from somebody
many
else?
different. I'm sorry?
Oh, I said no, because can't you loan from somebody else?
Mm-hmm. And
Okay.
it can be used for many different purposes.
Yeah.
All right. And we will submit. And it looks like it says it's all good. So we got the continue sign. Next slide, please. All right. So shared debt, credit history. Any adult with a good credit history can take out a loan. Co-signing for a loan, if you're younger than 21 or have poor credit history, you may need to have someone co-sign for a loan. That means sharing responsibility for a loan with someone else. And credit risk, something another person will ask you to share debt. If that happens, you want to be sure that the person is a good credit risk. And that's an interesting aspect, shared debt. In co-signing, I always, I have lots of stories. I know Joe has lots of stories of hearing folks who have co-signed for a loan and it goes off the rails, meaning the co-signer doesn't pay their portion, pay the loan, and the co-signer now becomes responsible for that loan. So understanding if you're sharing debt or taking as a co-signer, is that person a good credit risk? And there's all kinds of examples of train wrecks. Rashawn, is there any questions about the slide? Nope. All right, we will move on to the next. Credit risk. Credit risk is a person who has good credit history and pays bills on time, has several years of experience paying bills regularly, avoids taking out unaffordable loans, never maxes out credit cards, spends, meaning you don't spend your credit card to the limit, and is trustworthy. When you look at credit, and when somebody who's looking to do credit risk, they're looking at, what is your credit history? Are you paying on time? What's your capacity? If you have $100,000 of credit available on your credit card, you only have $2,000 that you're using, you have lots of capacity. But maybe you're only you have 100,000, but you're only making $20,000 in income. Is that a good match of credit risk to income? How many times you go out there into the system looking to get a new card? They watch that. And then they look and make sure that you haven't been misbehaving in other areas of your life that would be a public record that could show up and cause an issue. So let's go to that next slide. Paying as agreed. So when you have credit, you take out a loan and there's terms and conditions. And sometimes you're going to pay in an installment. Like for a car payment, it's going to tell you that on the 15th of every month, you're going to make a payment for the next 5 years, and then your car will be paid off. Whereas if you're doing a credit card, it may be the 5th of the month, but you're only going to do a percentage of your outstanding debt. So that could be 2% of that debt, and your interest rate may be high enough that you never take out your principal. So that's something you need to worry about when you have credit cards, that you understand that aspect, because you don't want to run into legal trouble by defaulting on your loan. We can go to that next slide, sir. And of course, defaulting means exactly what it is. Fail to pay back a loan. If you don't default, you may have to pay an extra fee. So an example, if you miss your credit card payment, that's considered a default. They're going to ask you to pay a late fee on your credit card, a penalty. If you do it more than one time, if you had a good interest rate, say you had a 10% interest rate, you missed 3 months in a row, you might go to the max amount that's allowable by law in the state that the credit card is registered in. So if they're registered in South Dakota, that high rate, I believe, is 24.9%. Michigan is less, but when you look at your credit cards, they're not really going to tell. You're going to have to search to find out where the card is registered at to see what that max interest rate is, and they should disclose that on some of their paperwork. They can also say you're paying on your card. They can take you to court and garnish your wages to create an income stream to help pay down your debt. Typically, that could happen on a home loan or a car loan. And of course, you don't want to lose that good credit rating. That number is, the goal is to be over in the 700 plus range. That's going to give you the best bang for your buck on your credit report, and also give you the best interest rates on where you're borrowing your money from. And as that number goes towards the 600 and number and lower, the interest rates go up, and it gets harder and harder to acquire a loan, or I should say procure. Yes, sir. Next slide. And sharing debt. All right. Deshaun and Juan graduate from cooking school together and are good friends. Both handle money well. They want to open a restaurant and decide to take out a loan to pay for the equipment. They need to get started. This is an example of, and Rashawn, it's up to you this time. The answers are a good reason to share a loan.
It's a good reason.
All right, we'll put let's see, select the correct, there's only one correct answer. So let's see, and then that's
So it's either a good
necessary
reason or a
financial risk.
required part. But I think it's
Bad
like
idea
it's
because they
reason.
are friends, a required part of the business plan. So you want to stick with your first answer, a good reason to share a loan?
Yeah.
All right, he's going to go with that first one.
I think this is a young person's answer, and I think an old person's answer is going to be C.
Yep. So we are going to go ahead.
Oh, so you would say bad because they're friends?
No, you're right. No, you're right.
Look at it, see? And you're right, Joe. If it was me answering at this point in time, it would be a thumbs down.
But that's exactly why we are bankers with zero risk in our lives, and these are entrepreneurs.
That is exactly correct. All right, think about it. Select the correct answer. When you take out a loan, you should expect to pay back exactly what you borrowed, pay back what you borrowed plus interest, work with the lending institution to create a payback plan, avoid incurring further debt until the loan is paid off, which select one correct answer, sir.
Pay back what you borrow plus interest.
All right. I would agree that should be the correct answer, and we shall continue. Good job. All right, select the correct answer again. Let's see. Gabrielle is living with her home and her parents. Brother took out a college loan but never finished school. He took out a business loan, but his business failed almost immediately. Finally, he took out a car loan and he lost his job. He asked Gabriel to go sign for a credit card so he could get back on his feet. What should she do? She should help her brother out. After all, he's family. She should refuse to co-sign because her brother is a bad credit risk. Should offer to co-sign a different kind of loan for her brother. Should tell her brother to ask their parents to co-sign. What do you think, Rashawn?
B.
That's
B.
right. The second answer, I would agree. Right. He's failed to handle his debt responsibilities correctly. And we're already in the summary. Congratulations for doing this activity. There is a follow-up post-session survey, so don't forget to do the post-session survey. And Joe, it's your turn to decide the next category.
Okay, wonderful. Let's keep it going. Let's go with consumer credit counseling and see what we learn. Consumer credit counseling. What happens if you need help to get out and stay out of debt? This person says, I'll never be able to get out of debt. That means I'll never be able to buy a car or a house or go on vacation. If you're overwhelmed with bills and finding it hard to pay your bills, you're not alone. In fact, there's a whole industry dedicated to helping people like you. That industry is called consumer credit counseling services. In this activity, we'll learn what a consumer credit counseling service is and how it helps people get out of debt, including shared debt, which we just talked about. You'll also learn how to determine if a consumer credit organization is legitimate and how to evaluate its services. Arshawn, is this ringing a bell? Like, can you think of a consumer credit counseling service?
Wait. It sounds familiar, but I'm blanking.
All right, no right or wrong answer. Yeah, I was just seeing if you knew one off the top of your head. Let's continue. What is a consumer credit counseling service? Well, a consumer, that's us, a person who buys goods and services. Consumer credit is personal debt taken on to purchase goods or services, credit cards, for an example. When consumers are overwhelmed by personal debt, they may need help. Consumer credit counseling services are organizations that can help people get out and stay out of debt. Budgeting help What kinds of help can consumer credit counseling services provide? Well, they can help individuals manage their budgets to free up money to pay off debt. They can help people find lower cost options for major expenses like insurance, groceries, and utilities. And they can help create a debt management plan. When debt is too high to pay off, consumer credit counseling services can create a debt management plan, or DMP. A DMP is a plan that lowers debt by creating a single monthly payment that is negotiated with lenders. Consumer credit counseling services work with individuals. Oh, that's what I was talking about. Okay. Which of the following is true of services offered by consumer credit counselors? They are useful only if you are already bankrupt. They may provide help with day-to-day money management. They will not help you negotiate with creditors. They can find funding sources to pay off your debts. What do you think?
B.
Can you see my mouse?
Yeah, B. No, I can't
Yep.
see. No,
Yep.
I can't see. I can't see.
I got to start hovering over the wrong answer. Correct. Now, credit counseling is not free. It is important to know up front what your costs will be. Debt management plans can help you become debt-free faster, but they may require you to make sacrifices or stop using a credit card. Many so-called consumer credit counseling services are scams. It is very important to research the service you choose. Okay, for Sean, all of the following are true of consumer credit counseling organizations, except they can help with debt management plans. All of them are trustworthy. They can provide help with budgets. What do you think?
I gotta pick which one is accept.
Which one is not?
I mean, wait, why don't I know this? Aren't all of them trustworthy?
All of them are not trustworthy.
Oh, okay.
You have to do your research. Okay, so the whole point of this, like why I asked you the question, have you heard of any?
Mhm.
I would say, Mike, I'm talking freely. Most debt counseling agencies, many that I've run into, have not been super helpful for clients.
Okay.
So you have to watch out. You have to be careful, because it obviously sounds like something you would want to buy, right? If you were in debt and I were a company that said, hey, I can help you get out of debt for less than you owe, things like that. It sounds almost too good to be true. And that's kind of the golden rule of a scam. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. There are, in fact, consumer credit counseling services that are legit. There just are a lot that aren't. So use these resources to check the legitimacy of a consumer credit counseling services. Ask your local bank. So me and Mike can make a recommendation. Check the DOJ, that's the Department of Justice website. They keep a list. Choose nonprofit services. So there are enough, in my opinion, nonprofit consumer credit counseling services that you can access without having to pay any fees. Or call the Better Business Bureau, the BBB. Because some of these are for-profit versus nonprofit. It makes sense that a nonprofit organization probably has more interest in seeing you become debt-free. Are you connected with a particular bank or organization? So your first step I would say, would be go and ask your bank or your credit union. Ask them, do you provide services? Do you provide free information? What are your fees? Can you help me avoid debt in the future? I would also ask, will there be any negative impact to my credit? I don't think this was discussed here, but I think it's common that if you some of these can fix your debt problem, but they can also negatively impact your credit at the same time. Okay. Maria loves her job, but she's struggling with her bills. She is paying the monthly minimum on her cards, but her debt keeps increasing as she uses the cards for nights out, new clothes, and gifts. She knows she needs help. For Sean, what steps should she take? Let's select all that apply. She should choose the closest consumer credit counseling services. What do you think? Yeah. She should check the Department of Justice website to find legitimate consumer credit counseling services. She should declare bankruptcy. She should take out another credit card to increase her credit. She should ask local consumer credit counseling organizations how much they charge for their services. Yeah. Wonderful. Okay, if you share debts with another person and the two of you cannot manage your debt, credit counseling can help. Here are some ways credit counseling can help you in that situation. They can help the two of you set up a budget to follow. They can provide you with a counselor who will help you stick to your budget and agreements, allow you to create a debt management plan under just one person's name, if that's what you'd prefer, and help the two of you communicate respectfully so you can work together to lower your debt. This, in my banker opinion, is perhaps the most useful part of this particular slide. So I think credit counselors can really help it when there's multiple people involved. Okay, so summary. The purpose of a credit counseling service is to help people manage their debt. How they do that is through budgeting and debt management plans. How to evaluate a consumer credit counseling service is important to determine whether the organization is right for you. And consumer credit counseling services can help with shared debt by providing budgeting help and by creating joint or individual debt management plans. Okay. Bankruptcy, Mike?
All right. Yep. I will take potpourri. I will take what is bankruptcy, please.
Let's find out about bankruptcy.
Now, of course, Joe and I are bankers, and we're always going to say this is the path you do not want to go down.
Yeah, I've never counseled anyone to file bankruptcy.
I guess that's a good thing.
I think so. I'm super curious to see what JA says about it.
So here we go. What is bankruptcy? Of course, we know there's times when you feel like you're drowning in debt, and it's a sea that you're never going to escape from. So is bankruptcy a life preserver that you should look at? As you know, bankruptcy is the legal process for people who can't pay their debts. It can help people survive financially, even if they're in over their heads. But you got to remember, bankruptcy is not an easy fix. It's a last resort option for people who've tried everything else and cannot pay their debts. Because there are long-term consequences, and hopefully we'll talk about some of those consequences. So we'll go to the next slide. Of course, we're going to learn how to recognize the process, purpose, and outcome of declaring bankruptcy, identify the different types of bankruptcy, evaluate its pros and cons, and analyze the impact of bankruptcy when debt is shared. So let's go. Of course, bankruptcy is a legal process that gives debtor protection from creditors or lenders. So we can go to that next slide. I don't think there's anything else that's going to pop up. It's not easy or pleasant process. There are serious long-term consequences. Of course, people who declare bankruptcy clear their present debt, but they damage their credit. They are unable to borrow money for a long time, which is true. People should try many things before declaring bankruptcy, including careful budgeting, negotiating with lenders, and taking out lower interest loans if they're available. We talk about budgeting. There's ways to negotiate with the lenders. You may have a variable rate credit card. Maybe you can talk to them to make it a fixed rate credit card that you can become a term loan to term it out. And of course, there's the availability of taking out a lower interest loan. Usually, very honestly, when you get to that point, you're typically not in a position to take out a lower interest loan because you're looking for unsecured. And unsecured loans typically have higher rates. And sometimes then bankruptcy is the only option left. Sometimes two ways. Oh, we got that. All right, so we're going to select the correct answer. When should someone declare bankruptcy, Rashawn? When they're having trouble paying their debts, when they have tried and failed to manage their budget, as a last resort when all other methods fail, when you need to take out a loan for school, a new car, or a house.
See,
And I would agree. And that is correct. All right, so I guess you want to put your cursor on the gentleman on the left, the guy in the blue shirt. See if does it say anything? Nope. Okay, so next. So we got forms of bankruptcy. I was so upset. I tried everything, but I can't pay my bills. I'm going to have to declare bankruptcy. And of course, there are different forms, right? So there's multiple forms of bankruptcy. You need to explore to make sure that you pick and select the right one that fits your need.
I thought you were going to read this guy with a different voice, maybe.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't even read it. I don't have that capability, Joe. So here they go. The gentleman in blue's talking about, as an individual, and individuals either file 7 or Chapter 13 bankruptcy. And of course, the other gentleman is, what's the difference? And that's a great question. There is a major difference between the two. So if he files for 7, he can sell most of what he owns, which is called liquidating. And then my creditors have to accept what I can pay them, and my debts will be discharged. I can be debt free in just a few months. And then what Chapter 13 is. Other option is most individuals don't choose. If they file Chapter 13 bankruptcy, you wind up having to pay off your debts over several years. And then he doesn't want that to hang over his head. So it's more of an installment process where you're not liquidating your assets. Of course, the question is, Rashawn, which is the most common form of bankruptcy for individual debtors? 11, 7, 13, or 12? Which would you choose, sir?
7.
All right, and I would agree. So when there's no other option.
11, oh, I'm sorry. I can't resist. Is Chapter 11 for businesses then?
I believe so.
Okay.
I'd have to go.
Why do they call them chapters? Is it the book of law, the bankruptcy book of law, perhaps?
I have no idea. That's a great question. I've never.
All right. Well, you continue. I'll Google.
Chapter 11 is reorganization, which is usually used by businesses. Usually you don't reorganize underneath yourself for 11. All right, so if there's no other options, there are steps to declare bankruptcy. The first one I would tell you before looking at any of these is, if you're going to go through the process, hire someone who is knowledgeable in the process. Of course, they'll fill out a bankruptcy petition for you because they'll know how it's done. There's going to be forms that show your income, assets, and debts. And of course, the court will decide if you qualify for bankruptcy. And if you're approved, the court will appoint a trustee. And then the trustee will work with you to sell your assets and pay your creditors as much as you can. So those are the steps when you go through the process. When you have too much to pay off, bankruptcy may be the only available choice for discharging or canceling debt. There are pros and cons to declaring bankruptcy. Pros: allows the debtor to discharge the debt when ordinary payments are not possible. It also provides a financial fresh start. The cons are: bankruptcy may require the debtor to sell off all assets, including cars, real estate, and other valuables. And of course, the bankruptcy stays on your credit report for 10 years and can be a barrier to getting new loans, a new car, a new job, and even buying a house. So there's the cons are very large when you go through the process. Okay, let's see. This gentleman has a large student loan and a small credit card. Oh, she has. She's been out of school for 6 months and can't find a job in her field. As a result, she's living with her parents and finding it hard to pay her bills while also saving for her own apartment. She is considering bankruptcy as a way to get a financial fresh start. Is this a good idea? What do you think, Rashawn?
No.
I would agree. It is not a good option. There's multiple things you can do to straighten yourself out. So we will go to the next page. Select the rights to, all right, so I guess we'll go to the first one. Assign, you don't get to, when you declare bankruptcy, a trustee is assigned to oversee the bankruptcy process. There's an agreement then. I guess the next one there. So if you're approved, you must follow the terms and conditions of that bankruptcy agreement that was created by the court, in that the trustee is going to oversee, and the discharge of debt. And if you follow the terms and conditions of the debt through bankruptcy, it will consider discharge, meaning your creditors are not allowed to seek further payment. So an example, if you had sold all your stuff and you got $100 for your stuff, but you owed $300, you paid who you could the $100, that $200 would be outstanding and discharged, meaning those creditors would not have the ability to come back and ask you for repayment because they've been discharged based on the court and the bankruptcy and the trustees follow through. All right. Of course, the creditors have the right to share in any money raised from the assets that are sold. Go to court to hear about how the bankruptcy will proceed. You hear stories, especially in business bankruptcies, the creditors are going to go to court to hear about the bankruptcy and how the division of assets will proceed. And it's the same thing for personal, and challenge the debtor's right to discharge a debt if they determine or they think that there's other ways that this discharge could happen. Some kinds of debts cannot be discharged, including tax debts. So if you forget to pay your IRS every year, say you're self-employed and you get a 1099 from somebody every year for 5 years in a row and you never file a tax return and you owe $10,000 to the IRS and you want to go to bankruptcy, that is not a debt that's dischargeable. Child support and alimony are also not dischargeable through the bankruptcy process. That is money that you will owe until you pay. All right. She is overwhelmed with debt and declared bankruptcy. Which of her debts would not be discharged through the bankruptcy process? So we got to pick the one that is not going to be discharged. We got credit card, auto loan, unpaid taxes, and business loan. Rashawn, which one would you select?
Mm,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
wait. Hold on, I have to reread the question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're selecting the one that would not be discharged out of the four.
Wait, I'm stuck in between auto loan or unpaid taxes. Unpaid taxes.
There you go. That is correct. All right. If you or another person share debt, can you share bankruptcy? That's a great question. The law about bankruptcy is in shared debt situations are complicated. They vary from state to state, and people who believe that bankruptcy is their only option should make sure they understand the bankruptcy laws in their state. So again, hiring a professional for the state you're in is going to be very important. Of course, bankruptcy can have an effect on a person's relationship. Yeah. It can be hard to have no credit for years. Think about it. You're 10 years, you're going to be on the list showing that you have a bankruptcy. And it's automatically going to say that if they're going to extend credit, they're going to extend credit to you at the highest interest rate possible if they determine to borrow you funds, because they look at you as an unsuitable risk. And as you can see in this example, no car, no house, and they're not interested in loaning you money for a business. Next. In the share bankruptcy, if someone you know has declared bankruptcy and asks you for financial help, you need to have an honest discussion with that person before you say yes. You know, they ask them, why did they go bankrupt? Was it medical, or was it, you know, I call the self-inflicted gunshot wound, you know, to your foot? You know, did you take on too much debt? You know, you can be sick and you can declare bankruptcy because of medical issues, and that is probably one of the biggest categories out there that cause issues for individuals because they cannot get, you know, out from underneath that bill. And of course, can you guarantee that you will be able to pay your debt plus the person you're going to guarantee, right? When you sign, you're taking on that risk for yourself. So let's go to the next one, sir. Let's see, these two young ladies share a lease on an apartment. The first one lost her job, spent the maximum on her credit cards, and finally declared bankruptcy. All her debts were discharged. Now she and Isabel want to rent another apartment together. What is the most likely to happen next? Select all that apply. One, they will be unable to sign a lease together because of the first person's bad credit background. Two, they will have no trouble renting an apartment together now that she is debt-free. The second person, Isabella, will have to take on the lease herself. And last one is it will be easier to buy a house together than it is to rent an apartment. Rashawn, which would you select? And select all that apply.
Probably, well, the first one.
You think the first one?
The third one.
I agree. And third one, and I agree. So we'll go ahead and submit. And we get to continue because you got it right. Good job, sir. Congratulations, everybody. You learned about bankruptcy, and through the process, remember, it is an option of last resort. Again, hire a professional to help you go through the process. It's worthwhile, I hate to say this, to spend that money. It's very difficult and it's not easy to do. That's why that professional is a benefit. And of course, both creditors and debtors have rights and restrictions. And of course, bankruptcy leads to serious problems with gaining credit. It makes it very difficult to buy assets in the future because you are or effectively had destroyed your credit and you're at the highest level of risk. So great job, everybody. And I'll turn it back over to Joe for his selection.
Okay. I Googled, oh, you can't even see it. The United States Bankruptcy Code. All bankruptcy cases are handled in federal court under rules outlined in the U.S. Bankruptcy Code, which was last updated in 2020. There are different types of bankruptcies, which are usually referred to by their chapter. That's where you get the chapter. Chapter 15 was actually just added in the year 2015. Interesting. Okay. Managing debt. Managing debt. Oh, there we go. Rashawn, true or false? All debt is a problem. It is better to live with no debt at all.
True.
False. Why'd you say true?
I mean, because debt is like you owing somebody, right? So I was like, I don't really owe anybody.
And it's almost an unfair question immediately after the bankruptcy module. But part of financial education and financial empowerment is understanding how to avoid negative things like being taken advantage of in bankruptcy, but also how to use the system to your advantage. Like that. So in this activity, we will learn the difference between desirable and undesirable debt. We'll learn where to find help with debt repayment and in management, and we will formulate strategies for managing individual and shared debt. Okay, so desirable debt. Not all debt is the same. Some kinds of debt are desirable because they are investments. In other words, they help you grow money for your future. Desirable debt includes or can include education loans. Education loans allow you to earn a degree so you can increase your earning power throughout your lifetime. So that's a case where desirable or debt may be desirable. Mortgages. Mortgages are desirable because they are low interest loans that give you greater borrowing power. By allowing you to own a home, mortgages are debt that help you build wealth by creating an asset. And that last line is worth repeating. So mortgages are debt that help you build wealth by creating an asset. And then the third type of desirable debt on this list is business loans. Business loans are desirable because they are investments in your own future income. If your business succeeds, you will be able to pay off your original loan and earn more money in the long run. Keyword there, if your business succeeds, probably. Okay, which of these is an example of desirable debt? Jose used a credit card to buy himself a motorcycle he had always wanted. Julia took out a loan to pay for tuition at her local junior college. Aaliyah borrowed $500 from her parents to join her friends for a vacation. Jonah took out a payday loan so he could pay bills that were overdue. What do you think?
Would that be, wait, desirable? The only one that's different is the last one.
Payday loan? I would say, what about B? Julia took out a loan to pay for tuition at her local junior college.
Yeah.
So that's desirable debt because she's using that for education. And so we're assuming she's pursuing a degree that's going to allow her to make more money than she makes now in the future.
Okay, now it makes sense. Okay.
You could add an E. Arshawn took out a very sensible loan to buy a very sensible vehicle to get himself back and forth to work. Correct. Aha. While the value of a new house or an education will usually increase over time, many things actually decrease in value the minute you buy them. That's called depreciation. Depreciation is a decrease in the value of property with the passage of time, usually as a result of wear and tear. If you can avoid taking out a loan to pay for things that will depreciate, you should, because they will lower rather than increase your overall net worth. Some items that depreciate in value are cars, jewelry, cell phones, video games. Avoid taking loans for these items. What do you think of that?
I knew that that jewelry depreciate, especially diamonds. I know diamonds depreciate the moment you buy them for real. But gold is like the opposite, right? Gold could go up, right?
Could.
Is that depreciated too?
I don't think it has.
So when you talk, right. So when you think about gold, you think about gold and jewelry, which is not 100%, it's usually 14, 10, 18 carats, not typically 24. But this gold is more of an investment. And so now you're talking about investment risk versus jewelry.
Okay.
Well said. I think the only one I might question or push back on a little bit is the car. Many of us take out a car loan, especially when we're younger, because that car can be a productive asset if we're using it as transportation to get to work, which Rashawn is, I suspect, the case in the car that you just bought. That's the case with every car that I've ever bought. It's been a car that I had to take out a loan for to get to work. And so it wasn't super fancy. Okay, some kinds of loans are not desirable because of the interest rate that you pay. Car loans, credit card loans, payday loans. If you must take out these types of loans, do your best to pay them off quickly. The longer you take to pay off a loan, the higher the interest you will pay. Or rather, the more interest you will pay. In the long run, you could wind up paying much more than the loan is worth. So this is also a spectrum here. Not all of these types of debt are equally bad. I would say payday loans you should avoid at absolutely all costs, while it's very likely you will have car and credit card loans in your life if you don't already. But both can be managed responsibly, as we're talking about. Okay, Jamal took out a business loan to pay for his startup. Desirable or undesirable debt?
That's desirable.
Desirable. We're going to assume that Jamal's business is going to cash flow and it's going to be great. So yes, this is desirable debt. Kiko used her credit card to buy a new wardrobe. She intends to pay off her debt over time. Desirable or undesirable?
Undesirable.
Yes, correct. Alicia and Rashid took out a mortgage to buy a home. Desirable or undesirable?
Desirable.
Yes, taking out a mortgage to buy a home is an example of desirable debt. Linda wants to be a chef, so she took out a loan to pay for cooking school.
That's desirable.
Luis took out a payday loan to pay for a new cell phone.
Undesirable.
Are you yawning? You're yawning. These are so easy. I agree.
No, I'm not yawning. I'm not yawning.
or this has to be the last one. Noreen uses her credit card when she wants to go to a restaurant and she pays it back over time.
Undesirable.
Undesirable. What if she's getting points and miles though?
Oh, well, okay. If she's getting rewards, I guess, yeah.
No, it's a trick question. Still undesirable. That's a marketing ploy, Rashawn.
Oh,
Still undesirable. Okay. Okay. If you can't pay all your debts every month, you're not alone. That's why many lenders and government agencies offer help and resources to manage and get out of debt. Talk to your lender. Most credit card companies will work with you to help pay off your debt. Ask questions. If they agree to help you, they may also close your account and your credit rating may go down. Call the customer service number on your card, talk to a real person, explain your situation, and try to negotiate a payment plan. If you negotiate a payment plan, the company may offer you one of several options. A lump sum agreement, so the credit card company accepts one large payment. Hardship agreement, so if you're dealing with a health or a financial crisis like filing bankruptcy, your credit card company, or you lost your job, your credit card company may lower your interest or allow you to skip payment. Or a workout agreement, your credit card company may agree to waive late payment fees or even lower your minimum payments to help you manage debt. As mentioned on the slide earlier though, these may still have negative consequences for your credit. We also talked about credit counseling organizations. They can help you manage and pay off your debts, but beware, there are many scams out there. You must evaluate a credit counseling organization to be sure it's legitimate and helpful. Remember, lean towards the nonprofits. Okay, the first step to getting back on track is reducing debt. Review your budget. Pay your bills on time. Pay more than the minimum. Pay more when you come into money. When you experience a windfall, like a tax return, pay some more on your debt. Talk with lenders. Pay off one debt at a time for psychological reasons. It's good to start paying things off. Stop the damage. Stop using your credit card. Stop taking out loans and consider consolidating. Consolidating means taking them all down to many. All right. Mike, we've got 4 minutes left. I think we ought to go to the last section. What do you think?
All right, we're going to talk about defaulting on a loan. Will be the last section, and we're going to blow through this one. So everybody's got to be on high energy. Take a drink, your cup of coffee.
7:30 at night, sir. Not a good idea.
Yeah, you got until 8:30. So the consequences for not paying a loan. Okay, so your loan was due, but he laid off from his job 2 weeks ago, and I have only enough money to live on. I guess I'll skip this month's payment. Of course, if you can't pay back your loan, you have options. Don't skip a payment without contacting your lender. You can run into serious problems. So the question is, always talk to your creditor. They will try to work with you because they do not want to put you in a position where you're going to default. And they have lots of experiences. So, we're going to learn about consequences, about paying back loans, options available for people who can't afford to pay back their loans, the implications of co-signing for a loan that is not paid back. We go to the next, paying late. Most lenders will allow you to pay a loan late. They may or may not charge you a fee to do that. For an example, say your mortgage is due at the end of the month. They will give you a grace period of 15 days. So you have that grace period to make your payment on your home mortgage. Now, do you want to play that game? I would say not. You don't want to play that game. You don't want to use that grace period, because as long as you keep extending out that time, that interest is going to build up and you're not paying it down. like you want to. And of course, no lender will allow you to default on a loan. If you don't pay for several months on end, you are in default on the loan, and then there's consequences, of course. So what happens when you default on a secure loan? And when you think about a secure loan, that means a loan is secured by collateral or deposit. So let's talk about, you will use cars as an example. The car can be seized by the lender if the borrower fails to pay. So if you stop paying your car loan, your car may be repossessed, and they're going to come in the middle of the night when you're sleeping looking for that car. They don't do it in the daylight majority of the time, Joe. Every show I see them, they're always in the middle of the night, right? And of course, you stop paying your mortgage.
There's an old TV show about repos. Yeah.
Yes, there's lots of shows about repo cars, repo boats, repo airplanes, all kinds of stories out there. They're interesting to watch, but you don't want to be part of the story. And of course, if you stop paying on your home, your home may become property of the bank when they foreclose.
So I feel like I want to say for both of these, for bankruptcy and repos, like in general, those are like rare financial situations. Like, I feel like I should disclose, like, these are rare situations.
Well, I would say they're not rare. So an example would be, say you declare bankruptcy and someone decide to lend you funding for a car, and now you don't pay for your car. You can't go through bankruptcy again to protect that asset or liquidate it, so they're going to repo it. And or they may only give you 90 days, and the bankruptcy code may say you have to be 120 days out to be able to start the process. Don't know. Again, that's where working with a professional that knows the system can give you guidance. Of course, some loans are secured by deposits. And of course, if you put say we go with a car, you put $30,000 in an account to do a loan for your car, and you don't make your payments, they're just going to take the $30,000 and pay off the car, and you keep the car. We also have credit cards that are secured by deposits. And if you don't make your payments, they will close out your card, take the money that is in a CD, and pay off the debt. And of course, the deposit might come from the borrower or somebody else. All right, so Elena is planning to start her own business when she graduates from college. To do that, she needs a business loan. Which of the strategies will help her ensure that the loan will be available when she needs it? Select all that apply. Wait until she's older than 21. Pay all lenders in full and on time. Pay a deposit on her credit card loan. Avoid having any loans at all. So Rashawn, which of the four would you like to select? Option 1, 2, 3, or 4? All of the above?
2 and 4.
2 and 4. No, she should wait until she's 21. If she's not 21, and she'd always pay your lenders full and on time when available, because that's building your credit. So we continue on. All right, some loans are secured by collateral or a house, others secured by cash deposit. I think we covered that. Let's go ahead and hit the next for us, sir. Of course, if you don't pay the lender is going to take back that car, house, or money. But many loans are not secured. Example is credit cards, business loans. Boy, most business loans I know of are secured by something. A majority of the time, student loans are not secured. Payday loans are examples that are unsecured loans. And we're going to press next to see what will happen if you stop paying back an unsecured loan. First, you will get letters from your lender telling you to pay your bills. A late fee may be imposed. Of course, then they might send you to collection agency to help the lender get the money back, and the collection agency will write and hound you for that funds. And they want to collect because they get paid from the money they collect from you. And of course, if you don't respond to letters from the collecting agency, your lender will take legal action, which means you may have to appear in court. And of course, because you owe money that you have not paid, your lender may be allowed to garnish your wages. It means your employer will pay your lender directly and you will receive only a small fraction of your earnings. So if you're earning $100 and you go through bankruptcy, not through bankruptcy court, but garnishment court, and you might get 50 instead of your 100 now. And of course, even if you finally pay your lender what you owe, your credit rating will have decreased because of the activity that has been reported of being out of compliance. And of course, that means that if you go forward for another loan, you may be declined because of your past history. Next slide, sir. And if you can't pay an unsecured loan, it is important to communicate with your lender. Always talk. I always tell folks, talk with your lender and try to negotiate a way to start paying what you owe. That way you can avoid the problems that come with defaulting on a loan. You may ding your credit report, but you will stop other things that may be occurring that would have greater legal ramifications, like collections, garnishments, because you've worked with your lender. All right, so the next one, sir.
I was going to say, and here you should take your lender out to dinner when you discuss your unsecured.
That's probably a bad picture because I don't think most of the lenders will go out with dinner.
Mm-mm.
Paying late is better choice than skipping a payment. Rashawn, true or false?
True.
And it is true. All right. She bought a car. She needs transportation, but she chose a more expensive car than she could afford. Of course, when the first car payment came due, she ignores the bills. She ignores the bills. I'm sorry. Is that loan secure or unsecured, Rashawn?
Unsecured.
That is incorrect.
Oh.
A car loan is secured. Excuse me. Go ahead. So what might happen? She might be required to, I guess, select the correct answer. The car will be repossessed. She might be in court. She will be offered restructured loan. She will keep getting billed for the same amount every month. What do you think?
Isn't her car going to get repossessed?
That is correct. Her car will be repossessed. They will not do any of the other three. So avoiding default and its consequences, know your rights. Don't put, I always tell folks, do not put your head in the sand. Answer, respond, write, keep notes. Always try to pay something. Negotiate with your creditors. That talk to your creditor. Ask for help. Maybe you have friends and family that can provide you a small loan to get you over that rough spot. Of course, consider getting a new loan. That can be a trap into getting into more debt that you can't get out of. So an example is you're in debt, and so you decide to go to a payday loan to help you get out of other debt. And payday loans are terrible, terrible, terrible. Do everything except for going to that payday route. And of course, consider bankruptcy as the last result. So we'll go to that next slide, sir. Of course, sharing a loan means you're sharing responsibility for paying that loan back. So if Rashawn and I were together and I was the bad guy on the car payment because he signed to help me get that car, and I decided I wanted the Viper and I couldn't afford that first payment, Rashawn now becomes the primary borrower because they're going to go after the co-signer. So know when you're signing for the person that person is able to make the payment, they have the cash flow, and they're in a job that they're not going to quit tomorrow, right? If you're making a decision like, hey, John's working in a restaurant, he's been there for a couple of years, he's going good, you still ask yourself that hard question. Is that restaurant very busy? Is that location restaurant closed in the past? Do I want to expose myself to that kind of debt? And will I take on that risk? So what is the first step to take if you want to avoid the negative consequences of missing a loan payment? Select the correct answer, Rashawn. Declare bankruptcy, call your lender, take out another loan, or call a lawyer.
Call your lender.
There you go. My Lynn's parents co-signed her student loan. She was able to loan every month for a year without fail, but she was laid off from her job. She missed several payments. She told her parents, don't worry, this is my responsibility. You don't have to pay for my loan. Is she correct? Yes or no? Rashawn decides.
I mean, they kind of co-sign.
So they co-sign, so they're responsible, right?
Yeah. So nah, she's
So
not.
is she correct?
Correct.
So it's a no. Yep, correct. You selected no. Good job. Oh, let's see. He has to have so much credit card debt he can't pay his minimum monthly payment. He ignores his bills for several months. And finally, his wages were, what do you think? Lowered, garnished, increased, or bankrupt? Rashawn, what would you pick?
Lord. Oh,
So select again. We know the top one's not right.
garnished.
Right. When you ignore your debts, you may become garnished. All right. Congratulations, everybody. We've gone through 5 separate modules, and this was the 10th module overall of the JA Personal Finance. So I want to congratulate everybody for doing all the different modules. Joe, do you have anything else you want to talk about?
I mean, that was a monumental 10 weeks. That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun. I met a lot of great people. I hope they're watching this recording, and I hope we get to do it again. And if you have any questions, please do reach out to us. Mike and I are both available anytime. Drop of a hat, call us.
Exactly. Yep. Or let Rashawn know, and Rashawn will let us know.
Yep.
Absolutely.
All right. Perfect. So I guess that takes us to the end of the night. I guess we were going to wrap up, stop our recording.
Stop recording.
And you guys have a happy holiday.